Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. I want to address the current world we live in. The wars going on and the climate that lives in and around all of us. The hostile, angry, tension-filled climate that over the last 3 years has increased to unthinkable levels. And geopolitically, we now see it manifesting in unthinkable violence and wars, not only between nations, but also the people within each country and within each community. Tensions seem to be rising and escalating to these cold wars right within our own communities. Now, I know better than to talk about any of these things because I know YouTube censors, and I also have learned my lesson the hard way that freedom of speech is not just so. You simply aren't allowed to state your opinions or what's going on, nor would I want to, over this war. War is not really my thing. It's not what I study, but human health and the human spirit is. So the relevance that I want to discuss today is these unspeakable times, this pinnacle of tension across the world that I never really thought we would get to in my lifetime, because as a child of the 70s and 80s, 90s, I assumed, things were pretty good. And for the most part, they were. After World War II, for the most part, the collective, wanted to prevent more wars in this world, wanted to prevent World War III at all costs. And the reason that was so was because they lived through the damage of World War II. They experienced the loss of their fathers and brothers and uncles and sisters and children. They experienced these devastating loss. And not only in the moment of war, but for that whole generation, the loss continued, right? The sadness continued. It was a generation of the unthinkable, what happened in World War II. And nobody wanted to repeat that. And so collectively, freedom was protected at all costs. Freedom was hailed as the only way forward. Free and prosperous countries where we don't go to war, where we don't, ever see a nuclear holocaust, so to speak, in the future. And most democratic countries around the world really did live by these values and really did honor. The world tried to heal, collectively what it had gone through in World War II. And that meant forgiving and loving each other and finding common ground and protecting each other and realizing what's important in life. Because when you go through something as awful as that, you realize what's important and you put those things first. Family and friends and your loved ones. And many of us grew up in these lives where we sort of experienced the middle class American dream. We felt safe and protected, communities that felt safe and loving. And it really didn't dawn on us that the unthinkable could happen ever again. But if history has taught us anything, it teaches us that these things rise to the top, these things repeat until we learn our lesson. And so it is with the self, which is what I'm going to talk about today because it's the only thing that's relevant for this channel. We are all a mini Earth. We are all an ecosystem. Our body is an ecosystem. The way our organs and bones and blood all work together, the microorganisms living inside us and on our skin, we are a mini ecosystem. We are a mini planet. We are a mini version of all that is. We are a mini version of God, of the entirety of everything. The consciousness of all that is lives within us. And so what we see happening on a global level couldn't be possible if it wasn't happening on an individual level, because there's so much healing to be done. We know from personal healing that when we experience anger and grief or a traumatic trauma, we know that this comes up over and over for us in the form of triggers until we look at it and we feel it and we learn and heal and then ultimately grow from these past wounds. And we know how difficult that is to do on an individual level. We know that these triggers come up for us over and over. We feel anger or we feel sadness, we feel depressed, we feel completely triggered by something that is pointing to something in the past, that is pointing to a trauma that has been unhealed, to a belief that we hold, that we haven't changed and that we haven't learned from and that we haven't grown and expanded from. And this is the only way that we heal as people, as individuals, our own traumatic wounds, our own hurts. So on a global level, this is truly what's happening. We have groups of people who have been hurt in the past. We have groups of people who are triggered constantly by others' mirrors that they hold up, reflecting their own pain. But when groups of people feel this collective anger, collective shame, collective hurt, collective sadness, collective rage over the past, over history, over what's been done, over hurts that have not been validated and heard and witnessed, and that no justice has ever been done. And in those cases, this is how we have these wounds across the world that are open wounds that have never been healed. And when collectively people feel these same wounds, this is what escalates into war. This is, people reacting and responding with their anger, with their rage. They react to the triggers, and the unthinkable erupts, the unthinkable happens. And so on an individual level, we know how hard it is to heal our own shit, right? How much work it takes to heal our own past traumas, how much work it takes to overcome these triggers, and to sit and practice non-reactiveness, to become the witnesser, to allow our feelings, the energy to flow through us rather than express violently out of us as we respond and react quickly to a trigger in our past. And we know this takes a lot of work. And in order to stop reacting, in order to stop responding from the trigger, but from our true selves, from our true all that is conscious awareness, we must revisit those past hurts and find out what it is that we're protected, and find out what it is that we are protecting ourselves from, where it is that we don't feel safe, where it is that we are still holding on to anger, where it is that we don't feel heard or witnessed or validated, where it is that justice has never been done, has never been served out, and how it is that we can come to a resolution where we feel heard and validated, if only by ourselves, and come to a place where we receive justice, if only from ourselves, so that we can make peace with what happened, so we can change our beliefs the beliefs that it formed and that we carry with us now because of that, so that we can go back and change them. And instead of allow ourselves to close down and protect and defend and justify, it teaches us to let go of what was, because we've made peace and we have our own justice and our own resolution within us. And so now we're able to forgive and let go and grow and learn and expand our beliefs, expand our awareness, and expand our capacity to love and grow in our conscious evolution, in our spiritual growth, in our spiritual evolution. This is how the human heals. This is how the human heart heals. This is how we heal trauma. And it is difficult enough to do it for yourself. It is almost impossible to do it as a collective together, especially when we have countries with weapons of mass destruction and governments themselves stoking the flames and stoking the fires of the tension that has been brewing since the beginning of history, and the generational wounds throughout history that have yet to be healed, the traumas that have yet to be reconciled, the justice that is yet to be felt, the forgiveness that is yet to be given, and the growth that is yet to happen. And while we feel all these tensions arising around the world, between countries and within countries, even within our own communities, possibly families, we all feel the heaviness, of what's happening. But we know from an individual level, there's always two sides, right? There's not black and white, right and wrong, heaven and hell. There is a gray, there is a blend. That history is complicated. Feelings and emotions are complicated. And that each side has their own viewpoints, has their own points, is protecting, defending, and wanting justice for a wrong they feel has not been righted. And it is way too complicated to say this is the right and this is the wrong. In some situations it's obvious, but in most there's an element of gray. And it's not this community and that community, this country and that country, races against each other, genders against each other. Right now we're sort of divided into all these different groups who are protecting their own interests and their own rights, and who feel threatened and who feel scared and who feel vulnerable and who feel like they're being harmed or controlled at a certain level against their will. Maybe they feel like they're not understood. They haven't been seen. They haven't been witnessed. They haven't been heard. They haven't been validated. Their hurts have not been justified. There's been no justice done. Nobody has apologized. Nobody has taken responsibility. Nobody has seen or felt the hurt. Not realizing that it's all of our responsibility to heal our own selves, to heal our own wounds. And it's not the world's job to heal it for us. It's each individual's job to heal their own. When you heal your own, you come to the world with more love in your heart, with an expansive consciousness, with growth and learning and openness. But until you heal your own wounds, you can't expect the world to ever heal yours. And so even to heal the body that we have, this microorganism that we have, right? When we suppress our hurts, when we suppress our traumas, when we suppress our feelings and our emotions inside and push them down or ignore them, when we hold on to anger and grief, we cause ourselves harm. We cause dis-ease in the body. And we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. We are just a reflection of what is happening all over the world. And so the only thing that can be done is to heal the self. when we have a conversation or an argument with somebody in our own family, in our own, our own friend or our own loved one, when we feel a hurt between us and them. We have to learn. We have a generation of people who have not learned to heal properly, who've not learned to communicate, who've not learned to express their feelings, their emotions, and come together, not in a I'm right, you're wrong kind of a way, but in a there is two sides to this story. There are two parties who feel hurt. There are two parties who have feelings and emotions. There are two parties who feel vulnerable, who feel scared, who feel hurt, who feel angry, right? Who have past traumas. And working out a resolution that works for both of you is the way we heal things. Communicating, right? Cooperating, making sure that we each feel heard, that we each are witnessed. Our pain is validated on both sides. And we come to a solution that makes us feel like we've been heard and like justice has been done in a way that both parties agree to move forward in new ways. Both parties agree to respect each other's boundaries and feelings and emotions, and both parties agree to change and grow. This is how we heal things at a relationship level. And until we can learn to do this with our own relationships, in our own families, until we can learn to teach our children real resolution. And most of us do. I mean, children know there's two sides to every story, that it's not black and white, that both people have feelings, that both people matter, and that we need to find a resolution that works for everybody, that addresses everybody's feelings. Right? We don't teach children to haul off and raise tensions until we have a fight in the schoolyard. We're not teaching children to haul off and hit each other. And yet, at an adult level, we have a society, we have a world full of grown-ups who are emotionally immature. We have a bunch of leaders, political leaders, who don't understand at a fundamental level how to resolve conflict, what conflict is, what deep grief is, what deep anger is, what trauma is, and how to heal. We have a bunch of leaders who stoke the fires of anger, who stoke the flames of hatred and anger and fear. There's a lot of fear stoking going on for their own political gain and monetary gain, instead of to heal the trauma, to heal the history, to heal the past, to bring love, to bring peace, to bring justice in a loving, peaceful way to all, to hear, to listen to both sides, to understand that both sides have hurts, that both sides have feelings, that both sides need to be validated, and that both sides need a resolution. A resolution is not a war. That's just stoking deeper trauma. That's just stoking deeper hurt. And the reason why history repeats itself, and we all have heard that, history repeats itself. The reason why history repeats itself is because the old patterns and traumas and beliefs have yet to be healed. So no lessons have learned and no expansion can take place. And these hurts, these fears, these traumas, these patterns, these beliefs will continue to come up as a collective until they're witnessed, seen, heard, and resolved. Just like it is for every single one of us. These triggers will continue to stay into our life. These patterns will continue to come up. We will be bothered. These reactions and responses we will continue to live out these patterns until we face them, we look at them, and we heal them. And they continue to come up over and over. Every trigger of our past trauma comes up over and over. You know, it may be daily, it may be weekly, it may be monthly, but that trauma is going to come up in the present. You're going to be faced with the opportunity to heal it over and over and over again, instead of just responding and reacting to it with your old conditioned patterns and beliefs. And it just continues to come up until you look at it, face it, dissect it, pull it apart, learn from it, grow and expand. And such is life. Such is humanity on this world. As a collective, these past traumas and wars and pains will continue to come up over and over, you know, until they're handled a different way, until we learn from them, until we grow as a collective. And that's why history repeats. It's the same at an individual level as it is on a world scale. And the only solution that ever is, the only thing is that you cannot change anything outside of you. You cannot change your spouse, you cannot change your parents, you cannot change your children, you cannot change your community, you cannot change your country, you cannot change the world, you cannot change anybody else but yourself. You cannot take responsibility for anybody else but yourself. And you cannot heal anybody else but yourself. But every single person can heal on an individual level. And this is where the work is. The work is to look inside and to find out where your hurts are, where your griefs are still held, where your angers are still being held, where your traumas are still there and unresolved. And we will know that they're still there because these triggers come up in our life that make us respond and react in crazy ways. And so we have an opportunity to heal ourselves, to look at our traumas, to look at our hurts, to look at our grief, to look at our pain and to see it, to hear it, to witness it, to validate it, to create whatever you need, whatever form of justice that you need or resolution in order to move forward, in order to open your heart, in order to grow, in order to move forward and expand and become a better human being because of it. And this is what we all need to do. This is our responsibility. And so when we don't like what's going on in the world and we know we can't change it or anything else going on, right? We are just too powerless to change the world. But we are the world. We are a representation of the world. We are a mini Earth. We are our own planet. We represent the universe, right? We are a fragment of the totality of the universe. We are a fragment of all that is. We are a fragment of God itself. And the consciousness within us, we have full control over. We have full control over the universe in our own conscious awareness. And this makes us not powerless to do anything, but the most powerful to do everything. And when we all realize this, when we all take responsibility to heal ourselves, to expand and grow and learn and bring love to ourselves and the rest of humanity, that is when we heal. That is when we find world peace. That is when we find out what truly heals the world. That is when we see clearly that we have no control over what happens in the world, but we have all the control of what happens within us. And that is the power that can change the world. That is the power that does change the world. And so while history is doomed to repeat itself over and over, and while we are also doomed to face our past traumas and hurts and unresolved emotions within us throughout our life, we know that it's our responsibility to heal, to learn and to grow and to expand and to choose what it is we want. And so division, hate, war, oppression, control, anger. It's everywhere right now. It's all through our society. It's in our communities, it's in our relationships, and it's within ourselves. So take responsibility for yourself. That is how you can help heal the world. Heal yourself and you heal the world. I promise. You will look at the world with new eyes. You will look at your own hurts in new ways. You will feel different. You will stop being triggered. You will start understanding and seeing all sides of a problem. You will start understanding the need to communicate and cooperate and to bring love instead of anger, resentment, hurt, fear to the situations in your life, and that will expand outward. And when we do this at an individual level, we heal ourselves, we heal our bodies, we heal our dis-ease. And when a lot of us start to do this at a community level and a nationwide level and a planetary level, then we heal the collective, right? We heal the dis-ease of planet Earth, because it's an ongoing job to heal ourselves, and it's an ongoing job to heal the world. And each time you heal a trauma, each time you heal an emotion, each time you heal a wound, you expand, you learn, and you grow, and we become more as a collective. We become better as a collective, and we evolve, not only personally and as humanity. So heal what's inside you. Bring love to yourself, and then bring love to the world. This is how we achieve healing. This is how we achieve peace. This is how we achieve balance and harmony and ease all over the world. This is how we heal. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. I just felt inspired today with all of the heaviness, with everything that's going on all over the world, sending love and prayers to every person, every brother and sister who shares this planet with us, that they may find peace and healing, and sending deep love to everyone.